Steve Harvey is one of the most recognizable faces in the world of entertainment. Known for his sharp wit, infectious laughter, and ability to keep audiences entertained, Harvey has built an empire that includes television hosting, radio shows, best-selling books, and a production company. Millions know him as the charismatic host of Family Feud, the man who can make even the most awkward answers hilarious, and the motivational speaker who inspires others to chase their dreams. From childhood hardships and homelessness to devastating divorces, betrayal by those he trusted, and a financial disaster that nearly destroyed everything he had worked for, Harvey has lived through pain that few could survive. His journey is not just about laughter. It's about tears, survival, and faith. What makes his story so tragic is not only the suffering he endured, but the fact that he carried it all while making millions of people laugh. Early life struggles. Steve Harvey was born Broderick Stephen Harvey on January 17, 1957, in Welch, West Virginia. His family later moved to Cleveland, Ohio, where Harvey grew up in a modest working-class household. His father, Jesse Harvey, was a coal miner, and his mother, Eloise, worked as a Sunday school teacher. The Harveys didn't have much money, and Steve often recalled how tight things were for his family. As if poverty wasn't enough, Steve struggled with a severe stutter as a child. Speaking was difficult, and classmates often mocked him. Teachers doubted whether he would ever be able to do anything that required public speaking. The humiliation of being laughed at planted both pain and determination in Harvey's heart. He worked tirelessly to overcome his speech impediment, practicing in front of mirrors and using techniques he picked up from watching television. Despite his struggles, Harvey dreamed of making people laugh, but his environment didn't encourage dreams. It demanded survival. He grew up watching his parents work hard for very little, and those early years taught him resilience. He carried both the scars of being ridiculed for his stutter and the determination to prove that he could rise above his humble beginnings. Homelessness and Hunger. Harvey's path to comedy was anything but smooth. In the late 1980s, he was working as an insurance salesman while performing stand-up comedy at night. When he decided to quit his stable job to chase his dream full-time, his life spiraled into hardship. After his first marriage collapsed and his finances crumbled, Harvey ended up homeless for nearly 3 years. He lived in his 1976 Ford Tempo, sleeping in the back seat, washing up in public swimming pools or gas station bathrooms, and eating whatever cheap meals he could afford. Sometimes, he said, he survived on nothing more than bologna sandwiches. Yet, despite the humiliation and despair, he kept chasing the dream of comedy. He would drive hundreds of miles for a chance to perform for free, hoping someone would notice him. Those nights of loneliness in a car shaped him into a man who could withstand almost anything. Failed marriages and family pain. While Harvey eventually broke into the entertainment industry, his personal life was filled with turbulence. He married his first wife, Marcia Harvey, in 1980. The marriage lasted until 1994, but collapsed under the weight of his struggling career and time away from home. They had 3 children together, and Harvey later admitted that the divorce created emotional distance between him and his kids. Soon after, Harvey married Mary Lee Harvey in 1996. What began as a fresh start turned into a public disaster. The marriage ended in 2005 with bitter accusations, legal battles, and custody disputes. Mary accused Harvey of infidelity and abuse, claims that Harvey denied and that courts dismissed. Still, the damage was done. His name was dragged through the media, and his reputation was questioned. Harvey later confessed that the failure of his marriages weighed heavily on him. For a man who often speaks about family values, being unable to keep his own marriages together was both painful and humiliating. The personal battles scarred his relationships with some of his children, who struggled to adjust to the constant conflict. While Harvey eventually found stability in his third marriage to Marjorie, the emotional cost of 2 failed marriages is a wound he carried quietly behind his success. The IRS scandal and $20 million debt. Just when Harvey thought he had found stability in his career, tragedy struck again, this time in the form of financial betrayal. In the late 2000s, Harvey discovered that his trusted accountant had failed to pay his taxes for 7 years. The Internal Revenue Service hit him with a staggering $20 million debt. For Harvey, it felt like his entire world was collapsing. It took years, but Harvey managed to pay back every penny. This chapter of his life highlights both tragedy and triumph. The IRS scandal nearly destroyed him financially, but it also revealed his resilience. Still, the emotional toll of being blindsided by someone he trusted left scars, and the fear of losing everything haunted him even after he cleared the debt. Career rejection and humiliation. Harvey's career is decorated with success today, but it came after years of rejection and humiliation. In his early days of stand-up comedy, he was booed off stage, rejected from clubs, and often told he wasn't funny enough. It took years before he got a breakthrough on Showtime at the Apollo. But even after establishing himself, Harvey faced one of the biggest public humiliations of his career in 2015. While hosting the Miss Universe pageant, Harvey mistakenly announced the wrong winner. The error went viral, sparking global headlines, online memes, and even death threats. He later admitted that the backlash left him emotionally crushed. Millions of people ridiculed him, and he feared that his career might be over. The incident revealed how quickly public opinion could turn, and how unforgiving the spotlight could be. Although Harvey eventually recovered and continued to host the pageant in later years, the humiliation remains one of the most painful moments of his career. It was another reminder that behind every laugh, Harvey carried the burden of deep embarrassment and rejection. Racism and industry struggles. As a Black comedian and entertainer, Harvey has often spoken about the racism he faced in the entertainment industry. Early in his career, he was typecast as the stereotypical loud Black comic, and many television executives doubted whether he could appeal to wider audiences. Harvey admitted that getting mainstream hosting jobs required him to work harder than his white counterparts. Even after success, critics accused him of being too Black for certain markets. Racism wasn't just in the industry, it was also in society. Harvey often used his platform to discuss discrimination and how it shaped his worldview. He knew that many doors were harder for him to open simply because of his skin color. Despite this, he persevered, eventually proving that he could succeed on mainstream platforms like Family Feud, which became a global hit under his leadership. Still, the years of being underestimated and battling stereotypes took an emotional toll. Racism added another tragic layer to his story, one that highlights how much more difficult his path was compared to many of his peers. The pressure of success and mental toll. Success, while sweet, came with its own burden. At one point, Steve Harvey was hosting multiple shows at once. The Steve Harvey Morning Show on radio, Family Feud, Little Big Shots, and his daytime talk show. He also juggled book tours, motivational speaking, and appearances. The workload was overwhelming. Harvey admitted that he worked 16-hour days and rarely had time to rest. While the money was good, the pressure to maintain his empire weighed heavily on him. He feared losing everything again, just as he had during the IRS scandal. The exhaustion strained his health and limited his time with family. The man who preached about work-life balance found himself barely able to live it. For Harvey, success didn't erase the scars of his past struggles. it only added new ones. The tragic irony is that even after achieving what many dream of, he was still haunted by the fear of losing it all. Steve Harvey's life is often seen through the lens of laughter, television fame, and financial success. But the truth is far more complex. Behind the polished suits and witty comebacks is a man who has endured homelessness, heartbreak, betrayal, public humiliation, and crushing debt. His tragedies could have destroyed him, but instead, they shaped him. The irony of Steve Harvey's journey is that the man who brings joy to so many has carried some of the deepest sorrows behind closed doors. Perhaps that's why his comedy feels so genuine, because it comes from a place of pain that he has learned to transform into laughter. His story is a reminder that success never tells the full story. We often admire celebrities for what they have, without realizing what they've endured to get there. In Harvey's case, the road was filled with hardship that most people couldn't survive. And yet, he did. The next time you watch him make a crowd laugh, remember that behind that smile is a man who has suffered more than most of us could imagine. Steve Harvey's story is more tragic than you think, but it is also a powerful testament to resilience, faith, and the human spirit.